Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron. I hope you're having a great day or night in Jesus. Thank you so much for being with us today. We're looking today at some popular proofs for evolution that are confronted and shown to be not true. This is in Icons of Evolution, Science or Myth by Jonathan Wells. Now, who is Jonathan Wells? He's a postdoctoral biologist and senior fellow at Discovery Institute. He holds PhDs from both Yale and the University of California at Berkeley. He's a member of several scientific associations, been published widely in academic journals. So, double PhD from UCal, Berkeley, and Yale. And so the first he brings up is the Miller-Urey experiment. I've read this maybe a couple times through. And basically, he said a lot of issues with the Miller-Urey experiment, which claims to have created at least an amino acid back in the early 1950s. Well, some of the problems with that is it takes several amino acids to make a protein, which you'd have to have for life. So they really didn't have a life created. Secondly, that this was done in perfect sterile conditions with numerous attempts, which would not have existed in the early Earth. And then thirdly, you have like an oxygen conundrum, that you cannot form amino acids initially with oxygen present, but once you have them, it takes oxygen to continue. Of course, he goes into it much more extensively, but really just shows that it's impossible. And then Darwin's tree of life, that you go from simple organisms upwards to through chains to the complex life we see today. Well, Darwin didn't have electron microscopes. And so now we know with irreducible complexity that the smallest forms of life are enormously complex. I just did a video on this several days ago. Incredibly complex. And this was Darwin's Black Box by Michael Behe. And then the sequel to that, answering some questions about that. And then secondly, even though millions or even billions of fossils had been found in Darwin's time, he thought it was a lack of evidence. Well, now many more billions, if not trillions of fossils have been found since Darwin, and we know at the very lowest layers, we don't find any chains. Everything of gradual evolution, everything is fully formed and fully filled. So Darwin's tree of life is not true. And then homology in vertebra limbs. So homology is similarity among creatures. Well, he rightly brings up, and this has been seen for centuries really, that maybe this would be just the best, most efficient way to make certain things. But then he does a deep dive into supposed homology that shows that really, even though there are visual similarities in certain things, when you look into the bone structure and various functionalities, they're really not the same. Then he goes into Haeckel's embryos, which was a deliberate falsification. And I know of very smart people that still think this, of pictures of the development of the embryo. It's called ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. That as the baby grows in the womb, it goes through the different stages of evolutionary development. It's phylus. And that a baby has gill slits. None of this is true. And so Ernest Haeckel in the 1870s era, somewhere in that neighborhood, deliberately misconstrued the drawings showing that happened when it in fact did not happen, and yet it still appears in textbooks, even probably to this day, but if not extremely recently, and people believe that. So it was a deliberate falsification, which you see constantly. Lastly, Archaeopteryx, which is considered to be a reptilian bird with feathers, kind of a missing link. He goes into the different Archaeopteryxes that are found, many of the issues, and it was probably just an extinct form of bird. And so we're going to go into more, and maybe even some of the more popular ones, such as peppered moths, Darwin's finches, and the like, in our next video. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. So God bless you. Talk with you later. Bye-bye.